Sensible Secondhand Reviews, the show where we look at sensible and practical cars that you can buy for between £1,000 and £5,000 in reasonable condition. This is a 2011 Volkswagen Golf Mark VI 1.4 TSI match 3-door. As with many cars that I film in this part of the world, it's been supplied by Simon from Langley Prestige near Chelmsford in Essex, and so far it's nice and quiet and relaxing. So the Volkswagen Golf Mark VI was introduced right at the end of 2008. It wasn't made for very long. It was made only until the end of 2012, when it was replaced by the Mark VII. The reason for this is because the Mark VI is very heavily based on the Mark V, with lots of the issues hopefully ironed out. One issue though was that yes, the forbidden fuel versions, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment, or we won't, because we don't talk about diesels on this channel. You see what I did there? Were involved in the Dieselgate scandal, so we shall not talk about those. Instead we can talk about some of the other options, or the brakes sharp in this. There were some very basic engines that were available right about the time of launch. A 1.4 engine with 80 horsepower, which dated back, I don't know, sort of to the early 2000s, possibly even before that. Then there was a 1.6 of 100 horsepower. Those engines only lasted until about 2010. Then there was the 1.2 TSI in 85 and 105 brake horsepower outputs that came in to replace those two engines. Next one up was this 1.4 TSI with 122 brake horsepower. It's used in all kinds of things, right the way through from the sort of Volkswagen Polo to the Seat Toledo. Then above that was a 1.4 with 160 horsepower. And then you get into the more exciting engines. The GTI had a 2-litre engine with 205 brake horsepower. The GTI 35th Anniversary Edition had the same engine, 231 horsepower. And then there was the Golf R, again the same engine, 2-litre turbo with 266 horsepower. As for the other engines, as we've just said, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. This car is quite pleasant to drive. It's got a nice smooth clutch and gearbox, although it makes a little tapping noise every time you press the clutch pedal and let it out. I don't really know why. Ride seems okay. The wheels are not the biggest on this car, but they do have a reasonably low profile tyre, so that's quite impressive. Steering's very, very light at parking speeds, which of course is what a lot of people would want. And the engine's reasonably quiet. It's not the most characterful car I've ever driven. If it was to the GTI, I'm sure it would be a bit more. But yeah, it's just nice and pleasant and easy. Visibility is okay, particularly in this model with all-round parking sensors. Just go around this roundabout and see how it handles. Yeah, and the corner's nice and flat actually. And as Matt from High Peak Autos always says, let's accelerate up the bypass. Yes, it feels pretty punchy, this 1.4. 6-speed gearbox is good. This car's done 84,000 miles, so it's not the lowest mileage example that would be out there, but it's okay. It's just under average really. There we go. Right, let's now park up and take a look at this car in more detail. apologise, viewers, it is very wet and windy out here. The match is quite a nice specification actually. It's probably one of the longest running special editions in UK market history. Front parking sensors, 17-inch alloy wheels. The three-door Golf that's not a GTI is actually quite rare. I don't know why somebody would order one of these when they could have had a 5-door, but there we go. It's a pleasant looking car. It does remind me of the last generation Scirocco as well, which of course was based on a similar platform. Rear parking sensors with dual exhaust tips. Of course the Volkswagen badge, I think I might have to press that to open it. There we go. Yeah, this car hasn't actually been prepared for sale yet. It's just come in to Simon and he hasn't had a chance to do it yet. So before it actually is listed on the website, which is currently it is not, but it might be by the time that you see this video, it will be cleaned up. Oh, a space saver spare wheel with tools. Fabulous. That's much better. Boot's about 350 litres, which is typical for this era of car in the class. Mind you, my old Chevy Cruze that was a 2011 as well had a 413 litre boot, so much bigger. I've got little hooks in here and a 12-volt socket, which is pretty handy actually. Shut that. Okay, viewers, I'm going to have to get in the back, aren't I? Oh dear. Why do I always have to do this? Okay, it's going to be difficult going to prop the door open as well because it's really windy. Let's just see if we can do this. Okay, let's be very careful. Hold on a second, viewers. Right, viewers, I managed to do that without injuring myself, which is always best. So if we put the seat back, that was about where it was for me. Just sit back a bit. Yeah, there's just about enough leg room. I like to sit quite far back in the seat for some reason. Just the way I like it. So leg room is a little bit restricted because of that, but you could put your knees sort of there, and if you had a shorter driver or someone who didn't like putting seats in front of position, and it would be absolutely fine. Rear climate control vents in here. Oh, and an armrest. You don't normally get a 3-door, do you? That's pretty nice, that. That's reasonably comfortable. I spay my legs like this. That's fine. I just hump the rear headrest up. Let's see if these plastics are. Yeah, they're kind of semi-soft in here. Oh, somebody like going to McDonald's and finding all sorts of dips for their sauces. Ski hatch as well. Now I have to leave that because that's a bit stiff with one hand. Isofix child seat anchors as well, which is good. And a nice sort of centre storage compartment there. Right. Gonna have to get out of here, viewers, as well. Here we go. Okay, viewers, we've made it to the front. And the start of that wind. What's really funny is that this 3-door car clearly does not have the requisite number of window switches when they were designing that plastic panel. It's designed for 5-door cars really, but those door locking buttons are a good place. Automatic lights on this car. I think it does have auto wipers as well. Certainly it seemed like that when I was driving here in the rain. Very, very clear instruments, no doubt about that. Just standard air conditioning on this one. No dual zone climate control or anything like that, although I think that was an option. Parking sensors and a funny little, ooh, it is a little ashtray there with the 12-volt socket. Aux in is just there. Standard Volkswagen infotainment system of the era. Let's see if that comes on if I press that. Now I'm going to have to use the key. Oh, it does. Oh, no. I have to turn that off. Right, you can operate it without the key. Fantastic. Right, let's see what happens. So radio and media will be aux in. There's no USB in, I don't think, for this. Phone will just be no user connected. DAB radio and setup. Not a massive amount of fun things to play with because it's not got sat nav, this particular car, but that was available. Things for skipping tracks, I imagine, or something like that. CD eject. And then the controls on here, very, very standard Volkswagen of the period. Cruise control on this indicator stop key, just like on my old Seat Toledo, and variable speed intermittent wipe on that side. You know, that switch has been in a lot of different cars of the Volkswagen group over a number of years. Voice commands here, stereo, volume, skip tracks. That's for the phone, and that's for the little menu that comes up on here, which I'll do in a second when I get the key out of my pocket. See if my secret mission documents go in the glove box. I do hope they would, because I'd be surprised if they don't. Oh no, not again. Why, viewers? Oh, get a bit annoyed about that now. Well, the door pockets are actually felt lined. That's quite nice. You could put a 2-litre bottle in there. It's quite big. And I think this thing here, actually, you could use it as a bottle opener if you take that out. And also adjusting to the cup holders. And you can actually close that off as well if you want it to be nice and neat. There's a compartment in here. Media in by some kind of weird proprietary connector. How strange. It's a business card slot. And thank goodness a conventional handbrake. Right, let me put the key in and we'll have a look at this little central display just up there. There we go. Connecting user. I don't think that's going to work. Let's just press OK. We can cancel that. Yeah, service status. Get rid of that. You can change the language. Ooh. In audio. Thomas 11 Pro, eh? See if we can go here and there we are. Up and down, it shows you the average fuel consumption, 60 miles of range. Don't know what route means. Yeah, similar information to what I used to get in my old Toledo, this standard Volkswagen system. Nice soft touch dashboard. Actually, the leather on this steering wheel does feel quite nice. It's quite dark in here. It's just typical of what, you know, Golfs have been like for a long, long time. Even in the 1980s, they were sort of black and dark inside all the time. Is that a sunglasses holder? Oh, it is. Not a pair of them for me though. And little spot lamps as well. Excellent. Also a little thing here. I don't know if that's connected to anything, but maybe that's sort of a breakdown service or something. Right, let's go and have a look at the engine, shall we? Apologies once again for the wind, viewers. This is a 1.4 TSI engine developing 122 horsepower. There is the famous Volkswagen coolant reservoir that's been on everything since sort of mid-90s, I think. Overall, not too bad to work on. You must not let one of these 1.4 TSI engines get low on oil, and must make sure you change it regularly, because if you don't, that could stretch the timing chain, and that could be very bad. Someone's also put the battery in a little case thing. I suppose that keeps it warm during winter and things like that. And look at that oil filter position. That's one of the easiest I've ever seen. Right, I think it's time to go for another drive, viewers. Well, viewers, you know how it goes on Sensible Secondhand Reviews right from the start. I've had the mount in the way, and because we're filming at Langley Prestige today, we've got the trade plate in. Otherwise, I would not be legal to drive this car. Yeah, it's a nice car to drive, actually. I just find myself not really having an awful lot to say. A lot of you have driven Golfs and owned them, and it has this sort of familiar thing about it, and I think that's why Volkswagen keep selling so many of these. It's one of Britain's best-selling cars. It's one of Europe's best-selling cars. Yeah, it handles well enough. It's in this sort of middle ground between sort of comfort and sportiness, and a lot of people like that. The brakes are very, very sharp in this. They're surprisingly sharp, actually. Certainly down these little country roads, it feels good. I've driven all kinds of cars on this road, and it seems to be handling them quite well. You know, I'm not getting particularly excited by the driving experience, but then again, I don't think that's what this is really all about. It just needs to be sort of competent, and it is staggeringly so. It's very, very competent indeed. This engine is pretty good. It's probably going to get about 40 miles per gallon for a lot of people, depending on the sort of driving that you do. Yes, I think it's quite nice. I'm not the most excited about it, but then I don't think that a lot of you would be. If you wanted something to get on with the business that kind of is just a very good all-rounder, then this probably will do the trick. So viewers, the Volkswagen Golf Mark VI is certainly better than those two Mark Vs that I tried earlier this year, that were both forbidden fuel variants, that's for sure. But is it a car that you should consider for a sensible budget of between £1,000 and £5,000? Let's have a look at some of the places where this car was built. Obviously in Wolfsburg, Volkswagen's own plant, really, for a long time, since the Second World War. Cabriolet version was built in Osnabrück in Germany, and then also there were plants in South Africa, in Brussels, in China, in Mexico. That's where the estate was built. The Ukraine and Indonesia. For the Jetta, I think, was built in Mexico as well. From what I remember, that's a much more popular car in the United States than the Golf is, of course. It's a funny thing, really. This is one of the most popular second-hand cars on the market, and it's fine. I don't know. I can't really get particularly excited about it. I know that there are some issues with these many forbidden fuel ones, but we don't talk about those. I've mentioned the things to do with 1.4 TSI engine, but I think I just prefer to go and buy an Octavia, which is based on the same platform as this. I think that would just be a better car for somebody like me, and that's not a problem. Much of the engineering is the same in those, but yes, it's been good to drive one of these. I mean, I sourced a car for a client a while ago, and on the way to sourcing the particular car he ended up buying, we test drove a 1.4 2009 S Golf 5-door that was even more basic than this, and it's fine. It's just there's really not much to say about it. They're all over the place, and sure, you can get parts of these quite easily, but I find myself just really a sort of loss for too much to say about this, really. Drives all right. Yeah, that's about it, really. So thank you ever so much indeed for watching this episode of Sensible Secondhand Reviews. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more of the same. Like this video, leave a comment below, and see you again soon.